I never thought my job as a trucker would lead me to this horror. Driving long hours on deserted highways always gave me a sense of adventure, but this one trip changed everything. It was supposed to be a routine drive from one state to another, but little did I know, I was about to encounter my worst nightmare. I was on my third day of the trip, exhausted and struggling to keep my eyes open as I drove through the dark, desolated roads. It was nearing midnight when I saw the figure on the side of the road. I squinted, trying to get a better look, and I realized it was a young girl. She looked no older than 13, with long dark hair and pale, haunting face. I felt a chill run down my spine, but my instincts as a trucker had kicked in, and I pulled over to offer her a ride. As she got into the cab, I asked her where she was headed. She gave me a blank stare and replied, "Anywhere that's far from here." I didn't want to pry, so I simply nodded and continued driving. But I stole glances at her in my rearview mirror. I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off about her. She seemed to be in a trance-like state, not responding to my small talk or even acknowledging my presence. As the miles passed by, I became more and more uncomfortable. I decided to break the silence and asked her name. She turned to me, her eyes piercing and cold, and said, "I have no name, but my friends call me the Wendigo." I tried to brush it off, thinking she was just trying to scare me, but her words left a lingering sense of unease in me. Suddenly, the temperature in the truck dropped drastically, and an eerie silence engulfed us. The only sound that could be heard was the thumping of my heart. I wanted to pull over and kick her out of the truck, but something held me back. It felt like I was under a spell, unable to resist her commands. The girl tilted her head and whispered, "Keep driving." I couldn't disobey her, so I continued driving in silence, though my thoughts were consumed by fear and confusion. The hours passed by, and I lost track of time. The girl's presence felt suffocating, and I could feel her cold stare burning into the back of my neck. As the first days of rays of sunlight appeared on the horizon, the girl suddenly vanished, leaving a chill in the air. I let out a sigh of relief and pulled over the nearest gas station to take a break. As I stepped out of the truck, I noticed a strange symbol carved into the side of the truck, one that I'd never seen before. I shook off the strange events of the night and continued my journey, eager to reach my destination and put this all behind me. But my relief was short-lived, as the girl appeared once again in my truck, her eyes now glowing a bright, unnatural blue. She spoke, her voice haunting and almost inhuman. "You have now entered my territory, mortal. Prepare to face your fate." My heart raced as I realized that I somehow stumbled into a supernatural world. The Wendigo was known as a cannibalistic spirit that inhabited the forest, preying on unsuspecting travelers. And now, it seemed, I was her next target. I tried to run, but my body refused to move. The girl laughed, her voice echoing through my mind. She took control of the truck and drove us deeper into the woods, away from any signs of civilization. The forest grew darker and more sinister with each passing mile, and I could feel the Wendigo's power growing stronger. I knew I had to figure out a way to escape, but with each passing moment, it seemed less and less likely. The Wendigo's icy grip over me was unbreakable, and I could feel her dragging me towards my inevitable doom. Just when I thought all was lost, I noticed a faint crack in the windshield of the truck. I remembered I always kept a bottle of holy water in my glove compartment, just in case I ever needed it. I reached for it and splashed onto the crack, praying they would work against the supernatural force. To my surprise, the windshield shattered and the Wendigo let out a blood-curdling scream. I took on my chance and jumped out of the truck, running as fast as I could into the dense forest. I could feel the Wendigo's claws tearing at me, but I refused to give up. I ran for what is like hours, with the Wendigo's chilling laughter following me. But eventually, I saw a clearing ahead, and I burst out of the forest, free from the Wendigo's grasp. I collapsed, panting and exhausting, as the sun shone down on me. It took me a few moments to realize that I was surrounded by a group of people, all with terrified expressions on their faces. They told me that they had been hunting the Wendigo for years and I just escaped from her clutches. It's just been a few weeks since that terrifying night, but I still have nightmares about the Wendigo. I quit my job as a trucker, too afraid to ever drive through those woods again. But every time I see a long-full haul truck on the road, I shudder, wondering if the Wendigo is still out there, waiting for her next victim.